Parshas Toldos. Why does Yitzchak want to give his bracha to Eisav and not to Yaakov? It's puzzling. And then, there's this subterfuge, and Rivka encourages Yaakov to dress up as Eisav and to fool his father. But forget about that for a minute. And let's just talk about what Yitzchak wanted to do in the first place. Why is that not crazy? Why is it that he wants to give the bracha to a man who we consider to be a drasha, an evil person? What is going on? Now, maybe we can be informed somewhat by a succession of psukim, of verses that describe the battle between, not an outright war, but the tussle, the tug of war, of between Yitzchak and the Plishtim. It starts off, Yitzchak leaves Avimelech, and the Torah says that he's got a lot of cattle, a lot of sheep. He's just very successful materially, and the Plishtim envy him, and they don't want him around. Go, ki atzamta lech mimanu, ki atzamta mimenu ma'od. Go from us. You're much mightier than we are. You're either they're just generally envious of him, or they consider him to be a threat, but they want him out of there, so they kick him out. So Yitzchak leaves. Okay. Then the Torah begins. This is Chavav Yudches 26:18. The Torah spends several psukim, verses, describing how, first of all, how the Pelishtim, the Philistines, had stopped up and filled the wells that Avram Avinu and his staff had dug. So it says that Yitzchak went and he dug them up again. And he called them the same names that his father called them. Why is that significant? Why is this whole thing significant? This whole business with the wells. And then it says that they found a Be'er Mayim Chaim, and so which is a well, a springing water. And the shepherds of Gror fought with the shepherds of Yitzchak, and they said the water belongs to us, and they called it Eisav because of the contention. That's what Eisav means. And then they dug another well, and they fought it over that one, and then finally Yitzchak dug a third well, and everything was calm, and it was called Rechovos, which is Rechovos means room. There's the broadness, if you will. And we can now be successful. So they ended up, after the third attempt, everything was fine. So what's this business about the wells? What's this business about calling them the same names? So the some of the commentaries say that this was a plan by Yitzchak to reestablish his rights to these wells because Avram Avinu had dug them, and it's only because of the envy of the surrounding peoples, the Plishtim, the Roe Gror, that they wanted him to not to be so successful, so they stopped up the wells. And so he called them, what's the significance of calling them the names? He called them the same names that his father called them to show that there is continuity here. It's a matter of asserting property rights. Not unlike the way there are towns in Israel that are called by the same names as in the past, and it is a indication of continuity of rightful possession and ownership. The Ramban says that this 3 wells, the first 2 were fought over and the third was landed in peace. He said it really is essentially an allusion to the 3 Batei Mikdash. The first Beis HaMikdash, the first temple, which was destroyed. The second one, over which there was contention and was destroyed. And then the third, which will be built, B'mheira v'yameinu, speedily in our days, Mirtz Hashem, will last, and it will be in a peaceful setting. That's the Ramban. The Hk'sav Kabbalah, which is a more recent Perush, written somewhere between it was by Rabbi Yaakov Tzvi Mecklenburg, who lived in the Königsberg area of Europe, and was around the late 1700s. He died, I believe, in 1865. So he says that the Avos, and Avram specifically, Avram was a man on a mission to spread the name of God in the world. And every place that he went, or many of the places, perhaps every, that he went, he called it with a name that would evoke a thinking of God. It would evoke Shem Hashem. It would provoke thinking about God. And this was his way. This was Avram's way. So he says that in all likelihood, Avram called the wells something like Be'er Hashem, or Yireh Hashem, or Mei Hashem, waters of God, or the well of God, etc. Now the Plishtim were of a different culture, and they couldn't tolerate this notion of one God. So the way to get rid of the name of a well is to fill it up and have it no longer functioning. And then you can either call it whatever you want, or there's no need for a name because it functionally no longer exists as a well. So Yitzchak dug them up, and he continued the work of his father. And he was not frustrated to the point of giving up, at least. He was not deterred. He was determined. He had, in the words of Rabbi and Soloveichik, patient perseverance. He was patient and he persevered. And this is the attribute of Gevura, says Rav. The Avos, according to Kabbalah, says Rav. I didn't study this myself, but I heard it many times from him directly, and it's also in his book, The Warmth and the Light. He says that Avram represents chesed, kindness. We know that about Avram. His whole personality was devoted to others. Yitzchak represents Gevura. Yitzchak represents a strength, power. Now, what kind of power are we talking about? So Chazal say, Ezehu Gibor, Hakovesh es Yitzro. Who is the true Gibor, the true powerful person? It's the one who conquers his desires. Well, guess what? The desires are ever present. And to overcome one's desires, it requires persistence. And this is Yitzchak. Yitzchak is persistent. He persists in redigging the wells and renaming them the same names as his father. This is Gevura. And he understood. You need Gevura, you need strength of character, you need persistence if you are going to spread the chesed of Avraham. And he looks at his 2 children. He has Eisav and he has Yaakov. Which one represents power? Which one gives the greatest chance of causing the tradition to persist? Well, says Rav Soloveichik, Yaakov does not appear to be a powerful one. He's an ish tam, yoshev ahalim, simple person, innocent person. He sits in the tents, which, according to Chazal, is an allusion to he learns Torah. Eisav, on the other hand, Eisav does not have the, shall we call it, zitzfleisch, the ability to sit and to learn and to contemplate spiritual matters, but he does have the ability to go out and conquer. And Yitzchak was of the opinion that as between the two, that Eisav was the more promising candidate. What he was lacking could be supplemented. Rivka saw it another way. According to Chazal, she was aided through nevuah, through prophecy. And she arranged a confrontation. And that confrontation specifically was designed to cause Yaakov, who had been solely an Ishtam Yoshev Ahalim, a naive scholar, if you will, to develop within him B'deles Prero. He had no choice because of the confrontation. To develop within him this essence of Gevura, of power. So the episode of the wells gives us a window into Yitzchak's values, the value of Gevura. And that also gives us a window into why he might have preferred Eisav for the bracha. At the end of the day, we need a combination of both chesed and Gevura. And that, says Rav Ahron, is represented by Yaakov. Yaakov is the combination of chesed and Gevura, which in a word is the midah, the attribute of Tiferes. And we are Bnei Yisrael. We carry on the tradition of chesed and Gevura, of kindness together with strength. Good Shabbos.